Are we back? Yes, we are. Okay, here we go. We just did problems 1 through 4 in the string lab, and we were kind of seeing how we want to print them out as kind of a report. And look at our console has a nice report showing that all of our challenges work so far. Let's do 5 through 8, and this is going to be maybe the more challenging part, and hopefully you guys feel good about it after this. Let's take a look. I need to go right here. Here we go. Write a method that takes 2 string parameters. One's a longer sentence. The other is a short word or letter sequence. The method should return the longer string, but with all instances of the shorter string replaced with dollar 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 dollar. Okay, let's try this. All right, so essentially what you're going to do is like take a sentence, and then maybe within that sentence there's a word or two that like repeats once or twice, and then you're going to replace that word with the dollar symbols. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Okay, here we go. Public static. So going to be a string that we return, and then how about let's take this. Let's take the parameter string. It'll be the longer sentence, I guess, and then there will be another string called word. Okay, so I want to use parameter names that are specific enough so that I can kind of replace things, right? So here's the thing. I want to take the string, my answer string, a string called my answer, will be the result of taking the sentence and replacing every instance of word with the dollar symbols. Okay, so I'm going to take a sentence. All right, it's almost like my answer is like my sentence, but with stuff replaced, right? So I say sentence.replace. Okay, take your old. So by the way, it doesn't have to be a char. It can be a sequence. Okay, so I'm going to take the old thing, right? The old thing that I wanted gone was the word, the variable word, right? And then the new thing that I want is actually just this sequence of $4, right? So I take the sentence, replace all of the word, whatever word I pass in, with these $4 symbols, and I'm good to go, right? So how about I just return the answer? Okay, let's actually take a look at some of these as, let's see, public static string, string sentence, string word, you know likey, why you know likey? What am I doing? Oh, I never named it. Come on, dude. Challenge 4. Okay, forgot to name my method. All right, here we go. Challenge 4. Let's go ahead and try an example just so we can kind of get the hang of it. And then we'll go back and look at it one more time. Is that challenge 4? No, that's not challenge 4. Challenge 5. Sloppy. Needs more coffee. It's challenge 5. Here we go. String. How about this? I'm going to make a string called sentence. And it's going to be like, here we go. Okay. Really do need more coffee. The Apple cup will determine the winner of the Pac-12 North. Okay, there you go. Look at that. There's a sentence, right? And I'm going to take a word that I know I want to replace, and that word will be, how about the word apple? There you go. So now, hopefully what I want to see is, instead of the Apple cup will determine the winner of the Pac-12 North, it'll say the dollar signs cup will, okay, so I'm just replacing that. So here's what it looks like. Okay, woo, woo, woo. Is this out? Here we go, the sentence. And then I'm actually going to say sentence with the word word replaced with these symbols. I'm just going to go down here. I'm going to make some more space for myself. Looks like. And then I'm going to call my method, right? Challenge 5. The 2 parameters are the sentence and the word that I just made, right? The sentence is going to be the Apple cup will determine the winner of the Pac-12 North. The word is apple. And then according to what challenge 5 does, what it's going to do is replace the word word, which happens to be apple, with the dollar signs. And I should see that new string come back. Okay, let's take a look. Here we go. The sentence, the Apple cup will determine the winner of the Pac-12 North, with the word apple replaced with dollar signs, looks like the dollar sign cup will determine the winner of the Pac-12 North. That's it. I don't like how far this runs on, so what I'm going to do is right before it looks like, you see I want to start a new line here, so I'm going to use my nifty, 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 nifty escape sequence. There we go. I guess I could have done a different println statement too. That would have been fine. But I like to use escape sequences. They're cool. Sentence, the Apple Cup will determine the winner of the Pac-12 North with the word Apple replaced with dollar signs. Looks like this. Okay. And by the way, just it's not really clear where my sentence begins and ends. So maybe what I'll do is I'll backslash quote it before and after. So I can kind of see. I'll use my escape sequences. Look at all this. Look at all this knowledge that we have. You can backslash quote stuff. Right, and now it actually should look a little bit better. So I'm placing quotes around my sentence. I put this in the wrong place. This one, you see this one? This quote's in the wrong place. So I'm going to take it from here. I'm going to move it right there. That's where I want it. Okay. How's that look now? The sentence, the Apple Cup will turn the Apple replaced with dollar signs looks like this. Sweet. I'm happy with that. Let's move on. I'm getting kind of now I'm getting picky. Challenge 6. What's the deal with challenge 6? Write a method that takes 2 string parameters and returns whether or not, the first whether or not. Returns whether or not the last 3 characters of the strings are identical. Okay, a lot of people have problems with this one, so let's try to take it apart. How about this? We are going to say it's a whether or not, so it's a public static, so it's going to say yes or no. Yes or no is a Boolean idea. In other words, the result of this challenge will be true or false. String 1, string 2. Okay, so again, I saw people trying this problem, and then they were kind of tailoring the guts of this method for particular words that they had in mind. Okay? So for example, watch this. So a sample, how about this? Washington. Okay, here's a word, Washington. Here are the indexes for it. 0, 1, 2. All right, so the last 3 letters of this would be the substring beginning at 7. You know what I mean? But clearly that's not true for every string that you could possibly use, right? It doesn't say, hey, make up your own mind about what kind of strings this challenge takes. It says take any 2 strings, and return whether or not the last 3 are identical. So you don't get to tailor the method to use the substring at 7, right? You have to use the last 3. Okay, how about this? The last 3 of this, so this one we would want the length. Okay, hold on. The length. By the way, the length of this is 10, and then the substring we would want is substring 7, right? But obviously, not all words are like that. So, for example, if I had another word like it's a shorter word, right? I could do what are the last 3 characters of this? So it's like the last 3 characters, by the way, the length of this is what? The length of this word is 5. And then the substring I would be interested in if I was going to take the last 3 characters would be the substring beginning at 2. Do you see the relationship between the length and then the substring index we'd be interested in for the last 3 characters? Length is 10, the substring index is 7. Length is 5, the substring index is 2. It's always the length minus 3. Okay? So if the proper index to go here is the length minus 3. The length of the string minus 3. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take string 1. And I want the last 3 characters of string 1. String 1. Okay, the last 3 characters of string 1. Here we go. I'm going to take string 1 and I want the substring, string 1's substring, beginning at the proper index. Do you remember what the proper index is? It's the length minus 3. Now, I can't just say length. It needs to know what length I'm talking about. Well, it's the length of string 1. So I have to say again, str1.length minus 3. Okay? So anytime you use length, you need to precede it with what string you're talking about. Okay? So I'm taking a string 1, and I'm going to take the substring beginning at length minus 3. That's the proper index to use to find the last 3 characters of a string. Okay? Now I guess a prerequisite for this method is you can't pass in stuff that's shorter than 3 letters. Fair enough. Okay? We haven't learned how to deal with that stuff in this class yet. It's not that hard, but we're not going to talk about it in this video. Well, how different is the next part? Is it really that different? No, it's almost exactly the same. I probably should have just copied that whole line. Look at this. I just change string 1 stuff to string 2, right? So now I have the last 3 characters of each of these strings. And by the way, it works no matter how long these strings are, as long as they're longer than 3, right? I'm getting the last 3 characters no matter if I send a string that's like 100 or like 50 or 5 or 10. I'll always get the last 3 characters using this logic. Okay? How do I check to see if these are identical to one another? How do you check to see if strings are identical? My answer is a Boolean, right? My answer is going to be, does this thing equal this thing? Or are they identical? Do you remember what we had to do? We can't actually do this. We can't use double equals, okay? We shouldn't, right? Because that's for like primitive stuff, okay? That's for primitives. And we know strings are objects. To check to see if 2 objects are identicals, what you can do is you can say dot equals, okay? And then I'm going to, no, not equals, ignore case. Dot equals. And then I'm just going to pass in. Is it true that the last 3 chars of string 1 are the same as the last 3 chars of string 2? Right? Okay, so I kind of fibbed a second ago. Remember when I said the double equals was for primitives? I mean, you could use them on strings too, but it maybe doesn't behave like you might think. The double equal sign will really tell you, are they literally exactly the same string in Java's memory, like the same thing, like they're pointing at the same guy? The dot equals checks to see if they're identical. Maybe they're 2 different places. There's 2 different versions of it, and they look the same. Dot equals is kind of like what we're really after. Right? Are they identical? That's what dot equals you can think of. Is it identical? Look at what it does. Look at the Java doc. It compares the strings. Compares this string to the specified object. The result is okay. Blah blah blah. It's the same. So look, it returns whether or not the string object represents the same sequence of characters. That's what we're interested in, right? We're not talking about like memory locations and all that stuff that we haven't learned about yet. Let's use dot equals to compare strings. Long story short. Okay, I have the answer now. I'm going to return that. That's it. Okay. How about let's test this, and then I'm going to give you the one-line solution because I know there are people out there going, oh, I did it in 1 line. All right, so let's go over that in just a minute. Okay, how about this string? I'm going to say str5 because I don't think I've used that yet. Will be grade report, and then I'm going to do string str6 will be short. Okay, I want it to be true. You see how the last 3 chars of these is the same? Okay, how about this? Let's just test this. I hate it when I miss. I hate it when I miss my shortcut. How about this? It is. I'm going to call the method. You'll see what I've been doing here in a second. Challenge 6 on str5. str6. This will either come out as true or false, right? It is either true or false that the characters, the last 3 chars of this, and I'm just doing a new line there. Probably could just do 2 println statements, but I'm just kind of being weird. And str7 or str6 are identical. Okay? So it's going to come back either true or false that the last 3 chars of str5, new line, and str6 are identical. Let's see. It is true that the last 3 chars of grade report and short are identical. I don't like how that's formatted at all. Maybe I didn't need that new line character. I don't need this new line character. And then Okay. And then I should probably put a space here. All right, let's take a look. It is true that the last three chars of grade report and short are identical. So let's change this one to like, okay, I almost put an A there, but I'm not going to do that for this video. How about, it is false. Okay, it works. It is false that the last three chars of grade report and shirt are identical, right? They're close, but not quite. All right. So there we go. That looks good to me. That works. Okay, so what's the one-line solution for this, for string 6? Some people did all of this in one line. Okay, good for you, right? How about this? It would look like this. Return str1 dot substring str1 dot length minus 3 dot equals str2 dot substring str2 dot length minus 3. Now what do you think? Like, which code is better to you? I think I actually am missing some. The dot equals. I'm just making sure I have all my parentheses closed. Which code looks more readable to you? I personally think this looks more readable, right? I break it down. The last three chars of string 1. Okay, I get it. Last three chars of string 2. I get it. Okay. Well, it's either, the answer is either that this equals that. It'll be true or false, and I'll return that answer. So I wouldn't get all high and mighty about doing it all in one line. Okay, because a lot of people would have to kind of rub their eyes a few times and try to figure out what you were doing here. I feel like with this code right here, it's clear as day. The last three chars, I'm comparing them for equality, and I return whether they're equal or not. Okay, so I wouldn't, harumph about all this because I think it makes it more readable. Okay, how about challenge 7? Challenge 7. We're getting close, right? Write a method that takes two string parameters. One's a sentence and one's a word within the sentence. Okay, like I told you what to name them too, S1 and S2. The method should return the index of the first occurrence of S1 in S1 of the last letter of S2. Okay, we need to actually draw that out. Public static. It will return the index of, so it's an int. It will return the index. So that means it is, so remember it takes two string parameters, string S1, string S2. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Here's an example sentence, okay? How about this? This challenge seems a little hard to understand. Okay? Maybe and then there's this word, a word within the sentence. Like how about little? Okay? I grab the word little. So let's take a look. Okay, so I have the S1 and S2. The method should return the index of the first occurrence within S1 of the last letter of S2. The last letter of S2 is E. So I'm going to look through string 1 and say, where's the first time I find an E? Right there. What index is that? You see that? That's what I'm going for here. Find the last letter of S2 and then tell me where in the string, the longer string, where in the string does that letter first occur? That's what's going on. Okay? So how about this? I'm going to grab the char. How about this? I'm going to grab the char last letter of S2. Last letter of S2. Well, okay, how do we grab the last letter? Okay, well, this one is at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's always at index. This one's at index 5, but I want this to work for anything, any word, not just this word. So I guess the last char is always, okay, remember this is 6 long, but I want index 5. If it were 7 long, I'd want index 6. If it were 10 long, I would want index 9. Do you guys see what I'm saying? It's the char at the index of it's one less than the length. Look at little. See what I'm talking about here. This is length 6, but I want the character in position 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's always length minus 1 is the last index. Does that make sense? I'm going to say it's s2 dot char at. What's the index? Remember, it's the string 2's length minus 1 that we just did. s2 dot length minus 1. Remember, this works. The reason why we have to do length minus 1 and we can't just say 5 here is because we want this to work for any version of s2, right? It's not always going to be something that's this long. So if we use length minus 1, that will always grab the very last char, right? The char at the very last spot, okay? s2 char at length minus 1. Okay, there's our last letter s2. And basically what we're going to do now is we're going to look through string 1. My index is going to be index of the first occurrence, okay? Whatever, right? So the index of the first occurrence is going to be, I'm looking through this first string, s1. It's going to be s1.index of, and what char are we looking for? What char are we looking for? It's this one. It's the last char of s2. Don't we just have that here? Right? I'm going to look through string 1, and I'm going to find the index of the char that I'm interested in, which I just grabbed in the line previous, right? So once I have that, I can return it. Return the index of first occurrence. Is that how you spell occurrence? I sure hope so. I'm not a spelling master. I never have been. I've struggled. How about this? Let's check. Let's check. I'm actually going to use this. So the first, I'm going to see this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 10 should be the answer here, I hope. Let's see. Okay, so let's grab this. And I'm going to make this called string str7 because I don't know if I can. And then my word within it, the other word within the sentence was little. Okay, and then I'm going to say system.println the first occurrence of the last letter of my string 8 there. Do you see it? str8. Within the string. And then I want C quotes. I'm going to backslash quote. Within the string str7. Oh, got low battery issues here. I'm going to have to stop after this one maybe. And then do the third one. Is, I'm going to go down. At index challenge 7 for, I'm going to pass in the strings that I want to work with. All right, you see this? So, and I need one more. First occurrence of the last letter of little within the string, this challenge seems a little hard to understand, is at index. By the way, I forgot to backslash quote here at the end to end the string. Is at index, and I should get the answer 10. Okay, thank you, battery. I should get the answer 10. Let's see. Let's take a look. The first occurrence of the last letter of little within the string, this challenge seems a little hard to understand, is at index 10, and that worked. Well done. Okay, I'm actually going to try to squeeze in challenge 8. Okay, can we do the challenge 8 real quick? Okay, let's do it real quick because I think we're kind of like, we're so close. I don't want to make just one more video for challenge 8. That seems ridiculous. Write a method that takes 2 string parameters. The method should return whether or not the second half of the first string starts with the first letter of the second string. All right, so a couple ways to do this. I'm going to do it using the substring. I only have 5% battery, so I really have to hustle on this one, okay? So let me just show you this one real quick. Public static. It's a Boolean because it says whether or not, right? Challenge 8. I really don't want to. String S1 and string S2. I'm being a little inconsistent with my parameter names. I said str before, now I'm saying S. Not super happy about that, honestly. All right, so what's the second half? Second half of the first string. Second half of S1. We've already done this calculation before. It's S1.substring length divide 2. Okay, that's the halfway point. What length am I talking about? It's S1's length, right? Okay, that's the second half of string 1. What I want to know is what's the first letter, so my char, first letter of S2, right? I like to grab these while I can. So it's going to be S2.char at 0. Okay? S2.char. What I'm wondering is, does the second half of string 1 start with the first letter of S2? And check this out. Here's my answer. My answer is a Boolean. Equals, is it true that the second half of S1 dot starts with, what? We have starts with? Yeah, we do. With the first letter of S2. Okay, what's wrong with this? Okay, so this is almost, we can't, let's see, this char, so the method starts with string. I can't use this as a char. Do you see this? So this is what people ran into. I'm glad we get to do this together. So the starts with needs to take a string, okay? So maybe instead of making this the first letter of S2 a char, I'm going to make it a string, right? And then I can say, how do I grab just one letter? It's a substring. It's a substring from 0 to 1. You guys see that? Now it works. So the substring from 0 to 1 is just going to essentially be one letter. It's the char at 0, right? But now it's treated like a string, and I can use the starts with method on it, okay? That's many ways to get around that problem. That's one of them. And then I return my answer, okay? I'm going to cut the video off here, and because I'm worried about my battery life, I'm at like 3% now. So I'm going to cut the video off here. Hopefully this helps you guys and makes you feel more confident about these string methods and breaking down these if you have to. The one-liners I'm okay with for now, but really, break it down. Help somebody out that's like, that's looking at your code. Help them understand what you're doing by breaking down the problem and trying to kind of show them how you did it, okay, within your code. That's what makes a good program, I think, okay? Hope you guys had fun with this and you guys feel better, okay? Send me a message, shoot me a comment, whatever you want to do. I'll see you guys. Have a great weekend. Go Huskies.